Today I want to approach the question of when did the Cumbric language die? First of all, I need to explain that Cumbric was the language of the Kingdom of Cumbria. This was originally a small kingdom based mainly in the Clyde Valley with its capital on the top of the Rock of Dumbarton. It was the last Brythonic speaking kingdom in northern Britain, that is, speaking a language that was very similar to Old Welsh, Old Cornish, Old Breton and the like, very much in that type of family. Now, this little resilient kingdom seems to have held out against Anglo-Saxon advances, at least until a major event happened in 870 when the Rock of Dumbarton was besieged by Vikings. And that seems to have perhaps had a very serious impact upon the strength of this kingdom. But remarkably, after this disaster in which the king was taken prisoner, vast amounts of slaves were taken, what happens in the 10th century, surprisingly enough, is that this kingdom expands vastly, taking areas down to the south of Cumbria and possibly even taking, certainly taking some power over most of what is now southwest Scotland, and possibly even taking Lothian as well. There are some interesting place names there that might indicate that. So by the in this was called the Cumbrian expansion of the 10th century, and this resulted in one of the largest kingdoms in early medieval Britain, whose elite, at least, seemed to be speaking this Cumbric, this Brythonic language, and probably exporting it into many of the areas in which it's controlled. But it was a multi-ethnic kingdom, as many kingdoms were, and it would have had Norse and possibly English speakers in many areas. But presumably the elite redistributed lands, and that meant an immigration from the core areas of the Clyde Valley. Now, this kingdom is mentioned in sources like the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles and is clearly a very, very powerful entity. But around the middle of the 11th century, the time of the Norman conquest of England, references to this kingdom fall off pretty entirely. It sort of disappears off the map, and we're not exactly sure why, and why there is no mention of this in our sources. One idea the historian Alex Wolff has is simply that the end of this kingdom was overshadowed by the Norman conquest in the south, and so the chroniclers were more interested in that. But clearly the language had spread with the spread of the power of this kingdom, but when did it die? Now, again, we have no references to this, and until quite recently, it was largely guesswork. But we have one very, very curious and surprising piece of evidence, and it's not from the core, what we might consider to have been the core of this kingdom in the Clyde Valley and by now Govan near Glasgow, but it comes in the form of the name of Llanercost. This is a priory in Cumbria to the east of Carlisle. Now, this name is etymologized as Lanech or Lanech, probably in the local Brythonic, and it means a clearing, an area free of trees that could, or scrubland or whatever, or an area that was probably of usable land in a more densely wooded area. And what about the Ost? Well, this seems to be from the personal name August or something similar, which appears to be a form of August, the name of the founder of the monastic order, the Augustinians. So what this means is that Lanarkshust seems to mean the clearing of the Augustinians. Now, the interesting thing is that this priory was founded probably around 1169. So that would indicate that Cumbric was not only still spoken in that area in the 12th century, but that it was strong or powerful enough for a Norman foundation, a Norman priory, to be named in Brythonic. If so, that would indicate that Brythonic survived some time later. And as the scholar Alan James has argued, this might be the area where it survived latest, around Lanarkshust and to the east of Carlisle. So it's possible that a language very closely related to Welsh was still spoken up until the end of the 12th century in what's now northwest England.